Hey guys, my name's Caleb, and in this video we're going to be talking about Cathie Wood's ARK Invest making a call to Bitcoin potentially going up to $450,000, and I'll explain why in this video. First, let's get into today's market. Over the last pretty much 36 hours, we saw Bitcoin drop all the way down to $45,000, excuse me. And that was a quick dip, and then it pretty much got gobbled up by all the investors. Yeah, it doesn't even show the $45,000 on this chart, but one of the candle wicks went all the way down to $45,000. We saw an Ethereum high of 2020 over the last 3 days, and then this one, it's not going to show it on this one either, but one of the candles dipped all the way down to 1380. It's going to show it here yesterday. That's why. Yesterday we dipped down to about 1380. It's not going to show it on this one, but on some exchanges all the way down to $700. But let's talk about the recent call. Now, if you look, Saylor and Microstrategy just announced another $1 billion of investments into Bitcoin at an average purchase price. This is really interesting to me. An average purchase price of $52,000. Now, if you noticed a second ago, this is live as I'm recording this, it's cheaper than that. And in fact, like earlier today, it was down to $48,000. So right now, people have a chance to buy a Bitcoin cheaper than a big company like Microstrategy did, and they invested big. That wasn't just a little bet. They did a $1 billion bet at an average of $52,765 per coin as of yesterday, right? And that's 90,000 Bitcoins. That's insane to think about, but that's how confident they are. And even before that, we talked about Tesla, who invested, everybody knows, $1.5 billion into the most recent, their purchase, $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. Nobody knows really exactly. They didn't say what exactly their purchase price was, but we know because of the timing of it, it had to have been somewhere in the $30,000, $35,000 range. And Square recently announced today they did another $115 million purchase. And that had to have been at an average of, I want to say around 47, maybe somewhere in there. But now, look at this. This is really interesting, and pay attention closely. Square has a 5% of their balance sheet in Bitcoin. Tesla has 8% of their balance sheet in Bitcoin, which is insane to a lot of investors. And a lot of people are giving them some flack for this, saying that this is irresponsible. But so far, it's paid off. In fact, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tesla made about the same amount in Bitcoin as they did from their profits selling cars for the entire year last year, just off of this 8% move into Bitcoin. MicroStrategy now has 95% of their balance sheet in Bitcoin. Obviously, it's a lot easier of a company like MicroStrategy to make that move when they have a CEO like Michael Saylor having all the majority rule to be able to say, we're going to go all in on Bitcoin. And that, my friends, is all in on Bitcoin. So why do I say that Cathie Wood made a call, or at least ARK made a call towards hypothetically Bitcoin going towards $450,000? Well, let me explain. In the Bitcoin fundamentals of ARK Invest, what did they call this? The Big Ideas 2021. If you scroll down to page 37, they talk about the Bitcoin fundamentals. I would highly recommend reading the entire 112-page slide. They talk about a ton of things that are emerging in the markets. And if you're an investor, it's definitely a must read. So if we scroll down, there's a lot of interesting things. They talk about MicroStrategy's first $500 million Bitcoin investment, Square's 1% allocation, some other exchanges right here, the GBDTC reaches record 1.5%. Macro investor Paul Tudor Jones invests 1%. So everybody kind of started dipping their toes, right, into Bitcoin. And now more recently, it's getting more popular for these big companies to do even bigger investments. And everybody's kind of looking at it saying, hey, that's kind of crazy that they were able to make that much off of this investment versus cash that's melting and definitely going down at least 3% purchasing power. They're looking at Bitcoin going up in value and saying, man, it would sure be nice if at least some of our Bitcoin or our balance sheet was holding to Bitcoin. FOMO definitely happens whether you're a big investor, whether you have $1,000 to invest or a couple billion to invest. FOMO happens. And it seems like what they're estimating is down here, if you look a little bit further, that's about to happen at a corporate level. So compared to 2017, the hype around Bitcoin appears contained. Now, this is as of December 2020. It looks like the chart here on Google Trends showing Bitcoin wasn't really that popular. So the argument they're trying to make is that all this increase, or at least a lot of it, is happening because of institutional investors. So if we take a look down here, this is really interesting to me. Bitcoin could play a pivotal role as corporate cash. This is the hypothetical price increase if Bitcoin were to replace cash on the S&P 500 corporate balance sheets. So we already have 3 major players who have allocated an average of, okay, we'll go back in a second and see what the average is. So Square, Microstrategy, and at the time of this, it wasn't Tesla, but made investments into Bitcoin and are showing the way for public companies to deploy Bitcoin as a legitimate alternative to cash. And this was written in 2020 in December. And boy, were they right that literally Microstrategy, Michael Saylor tweeted Elon Musk just like they predicted right here, saying, hey, we'll show you our playbook and how we're investing in Bitcoin if you're interested. So they were already somewhat correct that Tesla did this. And they're saying in this, they're speculating at least that this could happen at a major level to a lot of the S&P 500 companies, and everybody else may follow. According to our research, if all of the S&P 500 companies were to allocate 1% of their cash to Bitcoin, its price could increase by approximately 40,000. Its price, that's per coin. That's 1% right here. That would be 40,000 increase from our already, at the time of this, I believe it was down to 30,000. So that would be a $70,000 Bitcoin. And that's not assuming any retail investors join at all. That's just a $40,000 increase from that 1% allocation. Now, a 10% allocation across the board, which I'm going to say myself, I don't think this is likely, or at least not yet, not in the next 6 months, but a 10% allocations of all of the S&P 500 would add an increase of $400,000 alone. Again, not including any retail or anybody else, any other company, them alone, that would be a $400,000 Bitcoin, or a $400,000 increase to the price of the Bitcoin, excuse me. Now, let's go back and look again at what we just saw back here. So let's pull out the calculator. Square at 5% so far. Oh, that just disappeared. Let's pull it up. Square at 5% so far, right? Tesla 8%, and MicroStrategy, let's not even count this one because that's just a little bit wild, and we're not going to speculate that much because I know no other S&P 500 company is going to do 95%. But let's just assume an average here of 8 and 5, okay? So 8 plus 5 divided by 2. We have an average of, oh, just kidding. 8 plus, I did times, plus 5 equals 13 divided by 2. That's an average of 6.5 allocation between these two companies alone. Now, I don't think that a lot of these big companies are going to do that, but let's just assume that it's 1/4 of that. Let's say that at least 1/4 of the entire S&P 500 follow that, and that would bring the average down to, let's say, 0.25 of that, an allocation of 1.6. Let's assume that at least in the next 6 months, which is still speculating, but let's go back to a 1.6. And this is assuming no other investors are adding any money. 1.6, what would that be? Somewhere between 75,000 addition. So today we have a $50,000 Bitcoin, okay? A $50,000 Bitcoin, all right? And, oh, one more zero. And let's assume that there's another 75,000. Okay, that takes us to 125,000 with, again, I can't stress this enough. That's only these companies and what they would be adding to the price of Bitcoin, not the retail investors and everybody else FOMOing and jumping into Bitcoin head first. So I could definitely see how a lot of people are saying that Bitcoin could reach potentially 400,000 this market cycle, or at least $250,000. If this big, what I like to call corporate musical chairs takes place, this is definitely something to watch out for. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, but please, if you have any time, make sure you read the Bitcoin fundamentals and the big ideas 2021 and pay attention to what's happening in the space. Thanks, guys. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think down below. What's the price of Bitcoin going to be? Is it all hype? Is it going to zero? Are we going to the moon? What's going on? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.